Presenting company number 7, Oliver Horn, CEO, Elixinol Global. And I just want to say, I have tried your Omega turmeric product.
Ah,
I think it's awesome.
you're a rock star, John. Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. And look, I'm calling you from Australia, Melbourne. So I hope you're all doing well on your side of the world. We're certainly watching what's going on. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Look, just to make most use of the 6 minutes, I'm the CEO of Elixinol Global, have been for a year, and it's a publicly listed company in Australia, so it's on the ASX, but it's also on the OTC. And we are basically a CBD and hemp expert. We've been 20 years in CBD and hemp, really starting with hemp foods, hemp proteins, and various food sources around hemp. But we also have a very extended skincare range, and also the Elixinol CBD range, which you can find in the US, very widely distributed. Our vision as a business is fairly and squarely to build a global hemp-derived health and wellness consumer products business. So we've rejuvenated ourselves throughout the course of the last year, really focusing on CPG disciplines and creating consumer products and consumer marketing, divesting ourselves or getting out of lower value B2B and bulk services, for example. What makes us unique, besides the, I guess, besides being 20 years in hemp really, and being a pioneer in the area, is our global footprint. So we've really, over the last couple of years, invested into global markets because the trend around CBD in particular, and hemp as well, is quite remarkable. So in Americas, we have our base in Colorado, around 40 people. We have about global revenues at the moment of 15 million, half of that coming really out of the Americas. But really interestingly, over the last 2 years, we invested ourselves very heavily into Europe, and have been in there since 2018, had a real first mover advantage. It's now around 20% of our group revenues, but that market is set to explode. We're expecting a 34% CAGR rate on growth and getting to 2.3 billion market opportunity. And we've been there with an early mover advantage. I'm going to talk to you in a minute about also an acquisition that we've made there, which is really exciting to get us even deeper into Europe. And on top of that, in Australia, our business, Hemp Foods Australia, which has been operating since 1999, 20 years, is delivering 1/3 of our revenues. On top of that, we have various distributors and partners in Mexico, South Africa, and Japan. We're licensing our brand out. It's just being relaunched. So I guess what you can see, we're one of the very few publicly listed companies that has a truly global footprint with a diversified revenue stream, which insulates ourselves against risk in certain countries. And certainly we've seen the Americas a bit challenging at the moment, but then participating in this great growth that's happening all over the world. To give you an insight into our European footprint, just taking the UK. UK, by the way, is Europe's biggest CBD market at this stage. We are really well distributed. Over the last year, we landed over 2,000 new distribution points. Superdrug is one of the biggest drugstore chains that we are in. Well Pharmacy, independent pharmacy chains. Alliance Healthcare is a wholesale distributor to 20,000 healthcare practitioners and pharmacies. Boots in Ireland, and a number of e-commerce operators as well. Plus, we're supplying to Pharmacare, which is a big player. We're supplying all their CBD products under co-branded range that's powered by Elixinol. So really significant foothold into the UK market, which makes us very different. Touching very briefly on our financial summary. Look, we've been through a reset, and I came on through the course of last year. I've been in the role now for 11 months to turn the business around. As you can see on the right-hand side, we were mounting pretty big losses on our EBITDA line. You see that, at some half, the previous half, first half 2020, we had 15 million EBITDA loss. And really the work that I've been doing with my management team is taking the cost out 45%, pretty much half the cost of the business, taking out all the low value items, bulk and private label you see on the left-hand side. They were a big part of our business. And then most importantly, we refinanced ourselves with a heavily oversubscribed capital raise. We wanted to raise only 2 million from shareholders, but we were oversubscribed with 27 million of offers. We took in 20 million in funding, and I've now got a really strong balance sheet. We have 28 million cash in the bank, no debt. And so what you really see is like a cleaned up financial position, taking cost out of the business, and reinvested a lot of our time and money into relaunching our Elixinol brand. You know, if you've taken the Omega-1, it's a part of our new range. We only launched that in March, April, and we launched it around the world. So completely new business, consumer-centric, margin and brand focused on a lean cost base and in a very stable financial position. So we're really well funded. But what I want to, so get on your radar today, we've just announced to the market this week on Monday that we have a proposed acquisition that we're putting to our shareholders in May for vote to acquire Germany's #1 CBD brand. And you see that in front of you. The company is called Cannabis. The brand is Canovo. It's the #1 brand in bricks and mortar, 4,500 retail distribution points. And their success really has been very early on in creating a strong consumer brand by going into broad reach distribution in drugstores, where they're the #1, but then supporting it with national television advertising. And when you Google it, you can see a number of spots that have been running last year. So they really cracked the code to get a startup business going, get it to 3 million euros revenue, make it profitable. It's already profitable. And it's now the #1 brand in Germany. And what we're really excited about when you look at their distribution footprint with over 4,500 stores that they're servicing, which includes—
Oliver, you have 6 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm wrapping up in a minute. You see that we are really well positioned in the German market. So it's an acquisition for us, which is an upfront consideration of 9 million, maximum 24 million euros. But it's going to change the game for us as we are now in the UK, in Germany, in really 2 strategic markets on top of the US, on top of Australia. So I guess what I want to leave you with, sort of as a elevator pitch, is think about us as a being positioned in now global markets that are high growth CBD and hemp markets. We've been in the markets for a long time. We're a 20-year-old established player. We're a publicly listed company that is extremely well funded with a strong balance sheet. We have an optimized cost model now. We've taken the cost out. We're focusing on brand building, and we're continuing our global expansion to take part in this exciting trend that we see around the world. And I guess why we're here today, we're looking for retail investors and sophisticated investors. Us sitting here in Australia, we don't really get the message enough to America, which is actually a home country for us, and hence reaching out to you and putting us on the map, because it's a different business than Elixinol was just a year ago. So that's it. I guess we take it over to questions, John. Thank you.
Okay, that was good. Thank you, Oliver. Good pitch. Who has questions? I'm looking for the little hands. Anyone? Okay, Ted Bernhard. Go ahead, please.
Yep. Thank you. Very impressive presentation, sort of related. Am I understanding you correctly that you are raising money to sort of increase your profile in the US? Because it sounds like you have a pretty strong balance sheet and don't really need a lot of
yes. No, we're actually well funded. We are not raising money.
Yeah.
We don't raise money, so there's no dilution moment coming to any shareholder anytime soon. No, it's more about we just retail investors, individual investors, institutional investors, sophisticated investors. They don't know about us in America because we're in Australia.
Gotcha.
And so really this is about you can buy us on the share on the OTC very, very easily, but we just haven't marketed ourselves, and that's a missed opportunity.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then the second question, it was great to see the product mix there, and you sort of alluded to this. The regulatory framework in the U.S. for marketing CBD type products is kind of a mess. Do you see that changing, and how do you see the mix of your products between the different geographic regions playing
Yeah,
out?
good point. I think we are expecting that the FDA regulates, CBD as a dietary supplement. Yeah, and I certainly have that expectation that we see significant
Yep.
movement in the second half. So that should really give us a tailwind for the industry, which we also necessarily need, and better regulation. So that's one. But Ted, the most exciting thing is that the European Union, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, declared CBD not a narcotic. And now the European Union has passed a binding judgment in all European countries to adhere to that. And now we are positioned in those countries, and that gives us a huge opening of those markets. And that's incredible growth for us.
That's very exciting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ted, for the question.
Okay, David Cram.
Hey, Oliver, this is David Cram here. Great presentation. I've actually been familiar with your company for years. So I'm really glad to see that, this turnaround is happening. Outside of being an M&A acquirer, given your upcoming proposed acquisition, what would you say are the other exciting growth levers to this business, maybe more organically than inorganic growth via acquisition?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things that are really exciting opportunities for us. One is the market entry to Asia and to China in particular. Look, Australia is very close to China, and we have a lot of trading ties. So it's a very easy platform. I think that is something that nobody talks about. The Asian market is not really well discovered. Right. So I think that's one. Australia has just changed their regulation to deschedule CBD. It's from a special access scheme, and it's going to become available in pharmacy, and that's our home play. So that's a natural opportunity for us. And then I think there's a massive category expansion. I think the time of plain CBD tinctures and oils is gone. The market is becoming more sophisticated, and we've got a pretty big R&D facility to come up with better IP. I don't think there's enough IP, and so I think that's a part of our investment strategy as well. So there's a number of avenues of growth, economic recovery, regulatory environment. Everybody knows that, but then there's geographies which we can access, which are huge.
Awesome. And one
Sorry,
quick
David, forgive me. I have to yield to John Thompson. Just a quick question. John, you have less than a minute wrap up. And I suggest to all the panelists and the judges that you contact Oliver Horn. And I'm sure, Oliver, you've got somebody in the chat to help you.
Good presentation. Appreciate that. What do you see the path to profitability on your business?
Look, we don't provide any forecasts, John, but there's analysts out there which are covering us, and they expect us to be profitable towards the tail end of 22, early 23.
23.
Yeah.
Hey,
I see that you have thousands of stores that you're in right now. I mean,
yeah.
Is the volume, is the velocity in those stores really what's inhibiting the top line?
Yes. You're spot on, John. Like footfall in retail has been atrocious.
Yep.
I mean, everybody in the industry can probably attest to that. And unfortunately,
Oliver, sorry, I have to call time. Forgive me.
No, you're right, John. That's only fair. Thank you.
Okay.